Ever wondered how pandemics have shaped our world throughout history? A pandemic, by definition, is an outbreak of a disease occurring over a wide geographic area and affecting an exceptionally high proportion of the population. It's like an epidemic, but on a much larger scale. Whereas an epidemic is typically confined to a community, region, or country, a pandemic leaps borders and often continents, spreading its tendrils far and wide. Throughout the annals of history, humanity has faced numerous pandemics, each leaving an indelible mark on society. These pandemics have not only claimed lives but have also shaped human civilization in profound ways, from altering social structures to sparking scientific breakthroughs. One of the earliest recorded pandemics was the Plague of Athens, which occurred in the 5th century BC during the second year of the Peloponnesian War. Historians believe it may have killed as many as 2/3 of Athens' population. The cause of this plague remains a mystery, with theories ranging from typhus to Ebola. Fast forward to the Byzantine Empire in the 6th century AD, and we encounter the Justinian plague. Named after the Emperor Justinian, this pandemic is believed to have been caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, the same culprit behind the infamous Black Death. Speaking of the Black Death, this pandemic swept across Europe in the 14th century, decimating between 1/3 and 1/2 of the continent's population in just a few years. The Black Death was so lethal and widespread that it left lasting societal and economic impacts that are still felt today. In more recent history, the Spanish flu of 1918 infected around 1/3 of the world's population and caused tens of millions of deaths. Then, in the late 20th century, the HIV/AIDS pandemic emerged, a crisis that continues to affect millions worldwide. Each of these pandemics has a story to tell, a story of tragedy and resilience, of despair and hope. These stories remind us of our vulnerability but also our capacity to adapt and overcome. So buckle up, history buffs and everyone else who's intrigued by the past's echoes in the present. Our journey begins in 430 BC, during the second year of the Peloponnesian War. Picture this. Athens, the pride of ancient Greece, a beacon of democracy, culture and philosophy, is brought to its knees. Not by the might of Sparta's warriors, but by something much smaller and far more insidious. A plague. This was the Plague of Athens, a pandemic that left its grim mark on a society already ravaged by war. The symptoms were brutal and merciless: fever, thirst, and a burning sensation in the stomach, skin lesions, and eventually, a painful demise. The Athenians, in their despair, likened it to a fire consuming their city from within. But the plague wasn't just a health crisis. It was a social disaster. As the disease spread, so did fear and mistrust. The bonds of society frayed. Many fled the city, while others shut themselves away, hoping to escape infection. The sick were often abandoned, left to suffer alone in their homes or on the city's streets. The once vibrant city of Athens was transformed into a ghost town. The plague also had profound political implications. The Athenians were embroiled in a bitter war with Sparta, the Peloponnesian War. The plague decimated Athens' population, severely weakening its military strength and morale. The leadership wasn't spared either. Pericles, the influential statesman guiding Athens through the war, succumbed to the disease, leaving the city leaderless in its hour of need. The Plague of Athens was a turning point in the Peloponnesian War. With Athens weakened, Sparta gained the upper hand, eventually claiming victory. The plague marked the beginning of the end for the golden age of Athens, a city that once stood as a symbol of civilization. While the exact nature of the Plague of Athens is still a subject of debate among historians and scientists, its impact on Athenian society in the course of the Peloponnesian War is indisputable. It serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of pandemics. The Plague of Athens, a devastating start to our timeline of pandemics. Fast forward to 541 AD, the Byzantine Empire is struck by a deadly pandemic. This pandemic is none other than the Justinian plague, named after the Emperor Justinian I, who ruled at the time. A plague so devastating it's estimated to have wiped out up to 50% of the population in areas it affected. Imagine half the people you know just gone. The Justinian plague originated from rodents in East Africa. Fleas, having fed on infected rodents, would then bite humans, transmitting the disease. A terrifyingly efficient method of spread. The symptoms were horrific: fevers, chills, swollen lymph nodes, and what the Greeks called buboes, painful boil-like swellings. The plague raged on for 2 centuries, with waves of infection coming and going. The constant threat of disease weakened the Byzantine Empire, leaving it vulnerable to attacks from foreign invaders. The plague also devastated the economy. With so many people falling ill or dying, there weren't enough healthy workers to keep the economy going. Trade routes became ghost routes as fear of the disease spread faster than the plague itself. The Justinian plague contributed significantly to the fall of the Roman Empire. The empire, already declining, was further weakened by the loss of population and economic instability caused by the plague. The plague also disrupted the empire's military, leaving it unable to defend its borders effectively. This pandemic was not only a health crisis, but a social and political one too. It led to a shift in power dynamics, contributing to the rise of the Islamic caliphates in the East. It also marked the end of the classical world and the beginning of the Dark Ages in Europe. The Justinian plague serves as a stark reminder of the power of disease, not only to kill and cause suffering but also to reshape societies and alter the course of history. It stands as a testament to the undeniable link between health and the socio-political fabric of a society. The Justinian plague, a pandemic that changed the course of history. Next we find ourselves in the 14th century, a grim time known as the Era of the Black Death. The Black Death, also known as the bubonic plague, was an unprecedented pandemic that swept across Europe between 1347 and 1351. It was a dark period marked by death and despair, brought about by a tiny foe, the bacterium Yersinia pestis. This lethal bacterium was typically carried by fleas that lived on rats. The rats, often stowaways on merchant ships, traveled from port to port, unknowingly spreading the deadly disease. Humans contracted the plague when they were bitten by these infected fleas. Symptoms of the Black Death were horrendous. It started with fever, chills, and weakness, followed by the appearance of swollen and painful lymph nodes, referred to as buboes. These buboes gave the disease its name, the bubonic plague. In its advanced stages, the disease caused a breakdown of the immune system, leading to septicemia and, often, death. The Black Death was a catastrophic event that wiped out an estimated 1/3 to half of Europe's population. It was a death toll so high that it took the continent more than 100 years to recover its population numbers. The pandemic had far-reaching effects beyond just the staggering death toll. It led to a severe labor shortage which caused wages to increase. It also sparked a wave of anti-Semitism, as desperate and frightened people looked for someone to blame for the calamity. The Black Death also had a profound impact on art and literature. Artists began to depict death more prominently, giving rise to a genre known as danse macabre, or the dance of death. Writers too reflected the morbidity of the times in their works, with themes of mortality and transience becoming common motifs. The Black Death, a pandemic that left a lasting impact on the world, was a stark reminder of humanity's vulnerability in the face of nature. It underscored the importance of public health measures, the value of medical research, and the need for global cooperation in tackling such crises. The Black Death, a pandemic that left a lasting impact on the world. Moving into more recent history, 1918 brought with it a pandemic that shook the world. This was the Spanish flu, an influenza virus that emerged in the final year of the First World War. The Spanish flu, despite its name, did not originate in Spain. It's called so because Spain, a neutral country during the war, was one of the few countries reporting on the flu without wartime press restrictions. The actual origin is still a topic of debate among scientists, with possibilities ranging from France to China to even the United States. This influenza was an H1N1 virus, with birds as its most likely source. It was highly infectious and spread rapidly, causing symptoms like fever, fatigue, and severe respiratory complications. What set the Spanish flu apart from other influenza viruses was its ability to cause severe illness in healthy young adults, a group usually resistant to this type of infectious disease. The impact of the Spanish flu was devastating. It hit a world already weakened by 4 years of intense warfare. The movement of troops across the globe facilitated its spread, making it a truly global pandemic. It's estimated that about 1/3 of the world's population was infected, with death tolls estimated to be anywhere between 20 and 50 million. The aftermath of the Spanish flu was profound. It led to greater emphasis on public health and disease prevention. It also highlighted the critical need for global cooperation in times of health crisis. The pandemic took a heavy toll on society, causing significant social and economic disruption. The Spanish flu taught the world a harsh lesson about the destructive potential of pandemics. It showed that a disease could arise anywhere and spread everywhere, with devastating consequences. It underscored the importance of preparedness, of vigilance, and of cooperation. The Spanish flu, a pandemic that proved no one is immune. It was a stark reminder that in the face of a pandemic we are all in this together. Our timeline brings us to the late 20th century, to a pandemic that is still affecting us today. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, a new and mysterious illness began to surface. It was initially identified among specific groups in the United States, but it quickly spread across the globe, crossing borders and communities. This disease was eventually named HIV/AIDS. Human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, is a virus that attacks the body's immune system. If left untreated, it can lead to acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, or AIDS, a severe phase of the HIV infection. Unlike other viruses, the human body can't completely get rid of HIV, even with treatment. This pandemic's origin is traced back to Central Africa, where it's believed to have jumped from primates to humans. The virus existed in the human population for decades, unnoticed, before it exploded into the public consciousness in the 1980s. The symptoms of HIV/AIDS are diverse and can vary significantly between individuals. They often include flu-like symptoms, weight loss, chronic fatigue, and swollen lymph nodes. As the disease progresses, the immune system weakens, leaving the individual susceptible to a range of infections and diseases. HIV/AIDS has had a profound impact on the world, changing our approach to sexual health and disease prevention. It highlighted the essential need for safe sex practices, regular testing, and access to healthcare. It also sparked significant advances in medical research and treatments, with antiretroviral therapy now allowing people with HIV to live long and healthy lives. Despite these advances, the fight against HIV/AIDS is far from over. Today, over 38 million people worldwide are living with HIV, and it remains a significant global health issue. HIV/AIDS has taught us a crucial lesson. We must never underestimate the power of a virus, nor the importance of prevention. It's a stark reminder of our vulnerability, but also our resilience, and our ability to adapt and overcome. HIV/AIDS, a pandemic that reminded us of the importance of prevention. As we conclude our journey through pandemics in history, let's take a moment to reflect on the key lessons we've unearthed. We've seen how pandemics, from the plague of Athens to HIV/AIDS, have left profound marks on societies, altering the course of history in ways unimaginable. They've ushered in social change, toppled empires, and sparked scientific breakthroughs. Each pandemic has underscored the importance of public health, forcing us to rethink our approach to disease prevention and healthcare. They've taught us about the interconnectedness of our world, the fragility of our societies, and the resilience of the human spirit. These pandemics have also highlighted the importance of unity and cooperation in the face of global crises. They've reminded us of the power of human ingenuity, of our capacity to adapt, innovate, and overcome adversity. History teaches us that pandemics have always been part of our world. It's up to us to learn from the past, prepare for the future, and work together to overcome the challenges they present.